I was deleting old files from the company's server when I found a folder called Do Not Open Backups 2019. Obviously, I opened it, and what I saw in that Excel file changed my life forever. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I worked as a systems analyst at a financial consulting firm in Lisbon. A normal job, a normal salary, a normal life. Until the day I decided to clean up the company's servers because we were running out of storage space. It was a Friday afternoon. Everyone had already left early, and I was alone in the office doing something nobody likes to do, organizing old files and deleting what was no longer needed. The folder was hidden inside another folder, inside another folder, inside yet another folder. You know when someone tries to hide something but doesn't have the courage to delete it completely? Yeah, that. The file was called Final Reconciliation V3 Backup Old.xlsx. It looked innocent. It looked boring. It looked exactly like the kind of thing I should delete without thinking twice. But something made me click. When Excel opened, the first thing I saw were numbers, a lot of numbers. Columns and columns of financial transactions, amounts ranging from 5,000 euros to $500,000. Dates, company names, bank accounts, everything very organized, very detailed, and very suspicious. I started reading the company names. Some I recognized, legitimate clients of our consultancy, but others had strange names. Mediterranean Trading Solutions Ltd., Sunset Capital Investments S.A., Blue Water Holdings International. Companies that sounded important but that I had never heard of, and all registered in places like Malta, Cyprus, and the Cayman Islands. My heart started racing. I kept scrolling down the spreadsheet. There were notes in some cells, things like transfer before end of quarter, split into 3 payments, use secondary account. And then I noticed a tab at the bottom of the Excel file called Real versus Reported. I clicked, and that's when I understood what I was looking at. On the left side were the real values, the money that actually came in and went out of the company. On the right, the reported values, what appeared in official reports, what was shown to investors, what was sent to tax authorities. And the numbers didn't match. Not even close. There were millions of euros missing. Millions. My stomach turned. I looked around the empty office. The automatic lights had already turned off half the floor. I was alone, completely alone, with the most dangerous file I had ever seen open on my screen. I did the only sensible thing I could think of at that moment. I copied the file to a USB drive in my backpack. Then I closed everything, shut down the computer, and got out of there as fast as I could. My hands were shaking as I waited for the elevator. The trip home was a blur. I couldn't think about anything else. When I got home, I sat at the kitchen table and opened my personal laptop. I needed to be sure. I needed to understand if this was really what I thought it was. I spent the entire night analyzing the file, cross-checking data, researching company names, tracing the path of the money. And the story that emerged was worse than I imagined. The company's CEO, a man named Ricardo Tavares, had built a sophisticated money laundering scheme. It worked like this. Clients with money of dubious origin, some linked to corruption, others to tax evasion, and some to things even worse, paid our consultancy for services that were never actually provided. That money came in clean as consulting fees. Then, through a network of shell companies spread across tax havens, the money was redistributed back to the original clients, now appearing legitimate. The company kept a massive commission on every operation. It was brilliant. It was horrifying. And it was all documented in that Excel file because someone, probably the CEO himself or the CFO, needed to keep track of everything. But now I knew. And the question was, what was I going to do with this information?
The obvious answer was to go to the police, report everything, do the right thing, be the hero of the story. But the more I thought about it, the more complicated it became. I had no proof of how I obtained that file. I had copied it illegally from the company's server. I could be accused of stealing confidential data. And even if the police investigated, how long would it take? Months? Years? And how many people would escape during that time? How much evidence would disappear? Besides, I knew the kind of man Ricardo Tavares was. Rich, powerful, well-connected, expensive lawyers, contacts in the right places. If I reported him, he would know, and he would come after me. My career would be over, my life would be destroyed, and in the end, he would probably walk away with a fine and some settlement. No, there had to be another way. I spent the entire weekend locked at home thinking. I barely ate, I didn't sleep, I just thought. And slowly, an idea began to form. A crazy idea, a dangerous idea, but an idea that might work. What if instead of reporting the scheme, I used it to force the CEO to do something good, something that would actually make a difference? I did the math. According to the file, over the last 3 years, the scheme had moved around 15 million euros. 15 million that had been stolen, hidden, laundered. 15 million that should have gone to hospitals, schools, roads. 15 million that could change lives. That's when I decided. I would make the CEO donate it all to charity, every cent, and if he refused, I would send the file to every authority, journalist, and institution I could. But first, I needed a plan. I created an anonymous email account, used a VPN, used the Wi-Fi at a cafe far from my home, took every precaution I could imagine. Then, I wrote the most important message of my life. Dear Mr. Tavares, I know your secret. I have the proof. I have the files. I have everything. But I'm not interested in destroying your life. I'm interested in giving you a chance to do the right thing. Within the next 30 days, I want you to donate 15 million euros to verified charitable institutions. I will send a list. I want proof of every donation. If you do this, your secrets remain hidden. If you don't, everything will become public. You have 1 week to respond. I hit send before I could change my mind. And I waited. The first 3 days were torture. I went to work like nothing had happened, greeted people, smiled, pretended everything was normal. But inside, I was panicking. On the 4th day, I received a reply. Who are you? What do you really want? Short, direct, afraid. I replied immediately. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is what I know. You have 3 days to accept the terms. Otherwise, the file will be sent to the judicial police, the public prosecutor's office, Expresso, Publico, and all your legitimate clients. I attached a small excerpt from the file, just 3 rows, but enough to prove I wasn't bluffing. The reply came the next day. Fine, but I need time. I can't move 15 million at once without raising suspicion. He was right. We needed a story. I replied, then make one up. Say you had a health scare, that you want to leave a legacy, that it's a branding strategy. I don't care. You have 3 months, and I will monitor every move. And then things started to change. First, the CEO began talking publicly about social responsibility, about giving back to society. Then came the donations. 500,000 euros to a hospital, 300,000 to children at risk, 200,000 to cancer research. And I checked everything, every amount, every transfer. It was real. But something unexpected happened. The CEO began to change. Maybe out of fear, maybe guilt, or maybe seeing the real impact of it all. 2 weeks before the final deadline, I received a message. I need to talk to you in person. We met at a crowded cafe on a Saturday. When he walked in, he looked like a different man. Tired, older, more human. He sat down and said, "You gave me a way out,
a chance to fix things. I will donate every last euro, and after that, I will turn myself in. And that's exactly what happened. The 15 million euros were donated. Lives were saved. Futures were changed. After that, he went to the police, confessed everything, was convicted, served his sentence. I never revealed who I was. I never told this story until now. I don't know if I did the right thing, but I know that 15 million euros are now doing good in the world, and that has to mean something. If you made it this far, subscribe for more stories like this.